We're live. Oh, there we go. We're live. We're streaming. Yeah. If ever you missed this, or if you're a note taker, you just wanted to know what I said, or if you want to hold me accountable, it's live streamed and there forever. I'm famous on the internet in a good way, garden way. So you kind of pick that up on our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Those three places that kind of stream live. So you folks that are tuned in with us, we're glad that you're here. So this is today's garden class. We're at Waters Garden Center. My name is Ken, the owner of the place. My wife is working here. She's the owner of the place. My daughter's working here. She's the owner. So this is family business. We have been doing this for 62 years. No, I did not start the business, but my father-in-law, or Lisa's father, did back in 1962. So we've been doing this a lot of years. We've seen a lot of bugs, and every year it's kind of a different, something that's different, something that's a pandemic era, like biblical portion, like the skies are darkening and plagues are coming down. There's always one bug that's sort of like that every year, and you never know which one it's going to be. It's interesting. So today's class is on pests specifically. We're at the peak of the pest season. I gotta cover grasshoppers, gotta cover grubs, gotta cover ants because they're everywhere right now. And my nemesis of all, snails and slugs. Gotta cover those. And then I'll veer off and go a couple others. And then I thought we'd go at the very end, depending on how the class is, how much time we have. I got a few plants that I just know I've never had problems with. I've never had to spray, never had bugs. So I'll give you examples of those that maybe if you're having problems, well, replace the plant. We live in America. $30, you give a brand new one. It's no problems ever. So we'll kind of go over that. We'll do that all in about 50 minutes or so. That's not okay for you folks? Don't go anywhere. I know that refrigerator's calling you. Just stay with us. Anyway, where to start? So everything is growing fast right now. Your plants are growing fast, and the bugs are growing equally as fast. And they love that tender new growth. They love that tender new. You're still seeing aphids. I can't believe aphids are still out on plants. Normally, they don't like the summer. They say they're spring and fall bug. They don't like the heat. They stay underground or wherever they go. But this year, because I think the humidity, it's just moisture. I mean, I've had 3 inches of rain last month. I've almost got 3 inches of rain this month. We're only 10 days in. So we've got even more rain this month than we did. We're going to, at least, looks like. But they have more rain. They like that. So animals, insects feed off of that, just like your plants do. And so what to do, first of all, just realize how fast insects are growing. So you get tomato worms in your tomatoes, like the sphinx moth just came out this last week. The beautiful moth, looks like a hummingbird. But all she's there is to pollinate your plants, which is great, and lay her eggs. So her young will come and eat your tomatoes. That's that great big tomato worm, the one that's like 4 inches long, the big old green thing. When you pick them off your plant, they like spit at you. That's a horned tomato worm. And so I predict we'll see your tomatoes will have a wave of gardeners coming in with something's eating my tomato foliage. What's going on? Tomato worm, you can almost count on it by the time you see the sphinx moth to when you see the foliage leaving your tomatoes, like they'll strip it clean. And you look at your tomatoes and there's only like 5 caterpillars. Caterpillars are unique. They're actually a challenge. And they're the easiest to control. Because they're digesting foliage, all we have to do is put a spray on there that will cook the foliage. They'll digest the foliage, they get sick to their stomach, they stop eating, they starve to death, and fall to the ground and become compost. Perfect, that's what we want. Okay, so caterpillars, let's just start with that. Any kind of caterpillar, whether it's on your budworms eating your petunias, or geraniums, those were kind of famous for a tiny green worm. You don't even see them because they actually take on the color of whatever they're eating. So if they're eating pink petunias, they turn pink. If they're eating red geraniums, they turn more of a reddish crimson color. If they're eating just green foliage, they turn green. They're camouflaged because they're like bird bait. That's their way of hiding from all the predators that want to eat them. Ladybug, your praying mantis. They love caterpillars. So they're trying to hide. What to do? So BT, here we go. BT, we'll show it to you folks. There you go. BT is, you don't know how to pronounce it, for percentage of personality, something. It's some technical Latin name. So in the short term, all we call it is BT. We just call it BT. That's a natural product, all organic. You can spray your tomatoes, take out the caterpillars, those big green worms, and you can go and eat your tomatoes the next day and wash things. Obviously, use some common sense, but completely organic. This is when you're spraying the foliage, not the bug. You don't care about the bug, the caterpillar. You care about the foliage. What are they digesting? They'll come out that evening. Typically, caterpillars come out when the birds are not there. And they're eating real early morning, real late at night. Another one that we'll see, the caterpillar, the most famous spring caterpillar, you may have seen this out in the forest. There's this 10 football-sized web in the trees. It's called tent caterpillar. They love the oaks. They're native. The thing that they eat the most is the native oak trees. But they can cross over easily for with plums, some other things of yours. So if you see that football-shaped webbed tent caterpillar, that's what that is. They hang out during the day. When you're out there looking for them, they're inside that tent protected from the birds. But at night, they come out and digest. You see foliage disappear. Well, BT, spray the tree with this, they will be obliterated. Just all that will be left within a day or two is that webbing that you can cut out or pull out. I don't know what you do with that. So tent caterpillars or any kind of caterpillar, you can keep it organic with BT. Anytime you see, I guess there's two here. Spinosad also takes out caterpillars, but really, this is my go-to. BT is the old standard. Your grandparents were using this stuff. It's all natural, easy to go. It's very specific. It only takes out caterpillars. That's a negative. You got to be real specific with it. So if this does not affect aphids, grasshoppers, I guess you could over the head with it, but the spray itself is not going to affect anything except for caterpillars. And there's a lot of them coming out. They're getting ready. Get ready. Keep an eye on your tomato plants closely, because in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be kind of awkward. So let's beat those caterpillars. Let me just kind of open this one shade thing up. See if I can. I'm kind of roasting here. I just got back from Chicago 2 days ago. Chicago's a great town. You Midwest folks, it's all right. Favorite city. And in the summer, it's yours. You're not walking. You're swimming through the air. It's crazy how humid it is. It's stupid. Who lives in that part of the country in the summer? Come to God's country. You come down here and it's like Chicago. It's humid today, but it's raining. It's good. Okay, so let me go down where I started in my garden. I'm an organic gardener whenever possible. Sometimes you got to break out the bigger guns because nature is just taking over. At that point, I will break out the harder core stuff, but I try not to. I always start organic. When I'm going to help you with your bug issues, I am always going to try to go organic whenever possible. If it's going to do the job, like caterpillars, no brainer. We're going organic. We don't need the big guns. This is just as effective for us, more so. Why go toxic? Safer for you, safer for your birds. It's just safer. But sometimes we go bigger. I thought I'd go over where I start organically and then go down the line so you can see which one. And then if our staff doesn't know what it is, but you want it dead, which one would we recommend? There's one that's a catch-all. We just go down the list. I always start with triple action. Triple action is neem oil. The organic gardeners, NEEM. That's neem oil, the main. That's made from the bean of a tree that comes out. It's got a good repelling action to it. It's really diverse as far as smaller insects, aphids, whitefly, inside the house, much safer. A mealybug, woolly apple aphids, those kinds of things. But smaller insects, highly effective. So I always start with it. And then for my pumpkins, squash, I always get powdery mildew on those. It's just something I fight every year. I don't know why. This is very, very effective at preventing or solving mild cases of powdery mildew. And that's where the foliage is coated by this white powdery bacteria or organism that sucks the juices out of the leaves. It can kill the plant. And so when you see that, you really want to get on it because it spreads very easily. This will prevent that. The way it works, it coats those spores, powdery mildew spores. It doesn't allow them to multiply. It just mothers them. Doesn't let them keep going. So highly, highly effective. This is where I always start with this. I always have this on my shelf. I always have it in the garage. So I have it out there right there in the garden. So it's real handy to kind of switch things. If you catch it early, this is the way to go. The safest product ever. Well, I can't say that. The safest is horticultural oil. Actually, they're both oils. They're both the same. We've kind of put this on the very bottom shelf so no one buys it because it's too hot to use this right now. So if you've got some oil on your shelf, this is only good. You want to really hold off on this. Once it crosses that 80, 85 degree mark, this will burn your garden. It vaporizes bugs, but it also can burn because of the summer heat. It just coats and then burns the foliage. So we try to hide this so no one will ask for it. This is I'm done with my pruning in January, February, spray with oil. That's what this product is for. The heavier grade oil. Your other is lightweight. So it's not going to burn. So this is your summer solution for oil. That's the only reason I brought this one, just so you wouldn't make a mistake and go, I've got grasshoppers. Let's try it. Let's spray it. And then you got these brown leaves showing up on your garden. That's the reason why. Any of this stuff I would recommend spraying in the morning. It covers a whole multitude of mistakes. The heat with chemical kind of stuff, or oils or whatever it is, can cause some reaction. But in the morning when it's cool, in the evening, first of all, the pollinators are less likely to be out. So the bees and butterflies, they're mainly out during the day, not in the evening, not at the shoulders. And you're less likely to burn your garden.
You said evening or morning?
Either one's fine. So some of us work and we just don't have a lot of time. So it's whenever you're home, you can spray it. Doesn't matter. Early morning is kind of my favorite time because it's so cool. In the evening, sometimes it can be windy. Seems like the winds start to pick up in the afternoons. It gets a little more awkward to spray things. In the morning, it's always chilly. It's always calm. It's kind of the favorite time. Okay. Don't use oils. Then triple action. Then we go to spinosad or spinosad. It goes by a couple names. Who's pronouncing it? This is a magic new organic. This has got some mild soap in it, and it's got some capsules. This will do some of your harder to kill bugs, like spidery mildew. If you've got junipers, there's a webbing that can get on the trees. It looks like there's webbing on the trees, but you don't see a spider. Where is that coming from? Well, there's a little mite that causes this. Actually, a little history or some trivia. The male spider mites actually are the ones that are all the problems. As usual, men are doing the issues. They coat the tree with webbing, and the reason they do that is the females will go down the web going, oh, he's got something going on. I think I'll go down that path. So they're always wooing each other, and they multiply overnight. But within a week, 10 days, the whole plant can be covered in web. This is serious stuff. They've got terrifying mouthparts. They actually have a scraping mouthpart, but they literally take the tissue off of that plant, and the plant will starve to death because it doesn't have enough green to create the photosynthesis. It's a slow, painful death. It will kill the plant if you let it go. If you do want to get on it, spray it. Powdery mildew or spider mites, highly effective. Now I've got some very large, very nice. I don't want to lose them. Spartan junipers, great big green plant. They're fully mature. They're maybe 10 feet tall by about this wide, and they're blocking. I love to be outside in the morning, reading the paper, and watching the neighbors, and not watching the neighbors. So they kind of give me a bit of a privacy screen, so they can take their dogs. I don't have to feel obligated to wave every time we keep reading, so I don't want to lose them. Spider mites get on those plants pretty much every summer. And so what I've done for that one, I've actually treated that with treated shrub drench just because I know they're coming. This is my solution where I don't want to have to react to that spider web on the pine trees or the junipers. What else do they get on? They mainly like the evergreen kind of stuff, conifers. The tree and shrub drench. This you mix up in a watering can and you pour it right at the base. The plant actually absorbs it from the inside of the plant. Now, so when they come and attack that foliage, they'll eat it, and it's tainted. So they just stop eating it. I don't have problems. I put this on mainly in the spring. If you have pine trees, ponderosa pine, pinyon pines, the native pine trees, there's a borer, hips borer, pine tip borer. There's lots of borers. A lot of our bugs, they live in the ground, or they live in the trees because that's where the moisture is. So they're actually living under the bark, eating the cambium layer, that woody area underneath the bark, and they'll girdle the tree and kill it. So you'll see your ponderosa pine that's been there for 100 years, all of a sudden collapse, and just die. And once it starts to turn brown, there's no recovery. It's just over. So if you've got some very valuable evergreen, like some of you built your house around pinyon pine or your deck around the ponderosas, protect those. I would do this every spring. I would do this every single year on those plants just as a preventative, as a way to protect them. You do not need to be an arborist to use this stuff. You just need to get it on there. The way you do this is probably the easiest product of all of them to use. You just measure the circumference of the trunk, however big it is. Let's call it a 1 foot pinyon pine, smaller one. However many inches that is, wherever you can measure it comfortably, that's how many ounces of this you need on that plant. You put that in a watering can to say this is 32 ounces. This will do a tree about this big, 32, almost 3 feet around. It's a big tree. You mix it in a watering can, and then you pour this right at the crown, right where the trunk meets, right there at the ground. That's where you pour it. This will be hard for you gardeners. Because you're thinking, oh, I got to be out where the drip line is. I got to further out where the roots are. That's not how this product works. This is absorbed right there where the crown meets the soil. That's where you pour it. The plant will absorb it, and it protects the tree for 1 year. This is a great product. If you've got pine trees, protect them. And they're valuable to you. Take care of them. So, yep. This is tree and shrub drench. Isn't it? Drench. Just not very original. EPA doesn't let us get very original with names. They just go tree and shrub drench. Just that's what it is. Okay. Highly effective. I use this on my junipers as well for spider bites. Highly effective at preventing them, keeping them off. So yeah.
One walnut tree in my backyard.
Nice.
It looks healthy as can be.
Good.
My son's a landscaper down in Phoenix, and he was at my house, but it has little holes in it.
In the trunk or in the leaves?
What?
In the trunk or in the leaves?
In the trunk.
Okay.
I thought it was woodpeckers, and he said he thinks I might have some kind of parasite.
So he's got a walnut, you folks over here and online. Nice, beautiful native walnut. He's got holes showing up in the bark. And his son's a landscaper in Phoenix, said, I think he's got parasites, something's going on, and he's thinking it's woodpeckers. Here's a woodpecker. So there's a real pretty sap sucker, is what they call it, woodpecker. Cute little thing. And they like to poke holes, like perfect little holes into the bark. Generally, they'll do that in a row. Frequently, if you have any kind of pattern to it, any kind of geometric shape, it's a woodpecker. That's what it is. If you just random holes all over the tree, you've got bigger issues. So that's probably an insect of some sort. The reason the woodpeckers are doing that is so it creates sap. The bugs are attracted to the sap. They're coming to eat the bugs that are attracted to the sap. Just nature's weird that way. Or you've got actual bigger problem. You've got grubs or some sort of borer underneath the bark, and they're trying to peck through the bark to get to the food source. They're an insect kind of bird. They're going after the insect. So one of those two. That's when you might take a picture, come talk to us so we can know for sure, because you don't want to lose a nice a walnut tree that big is ancient, so you don't want to lose that. But that's another one too. I had a nickel for every time I heard you've got issues with this one. Yeah, but none of the rest of the yard has a problem. Yeah. It can spread very easily. So don't assume it's going to stay isolated to that one plant. It can go right down the road, and the entire hedgerow collapse. You can catch it really bad. So you do want to get on this stuff. Take a picture. It's the greatest way. These new cameras, we can zoom right in and see. We can see a lot of detail. If you're not doing this, we take the picture. Still is better. Or you can go the old school way. Take up a piece, put it in a Ziploc baggie, bring it in. We can take a look at it. Put it underneath the microscope. We'll actually take a look at. We'll blow the thing up 2,000 times its original size, and it'll freak you out. Insects are hideous, like monsters. So anyway, those are two ways. If you could, don't bring in samples just raw. Oh look, because it spreads into all my stuff. So we just want to keep it isolated. So we're trying to keep it isolated so we can treat it. Okay? So some tricks of the trade. Okay. Tree borers. Probably the biggest one we've seen entire neighborhoods destroyed. All the ponderosas are gone, unless they were treated. So if you've got the pine trees, the tree shrub drench is your best defense. Okay? Or spider pinch, your best defense. Pine trees. Just going down the line. Aphids. It's not okay. Is it only for evergreen? No, not only for evergreen. It's actually got a pretty broad label. Some fruit trees we can use it, like peach tree borers. There's a real pretty little wasp that lays her eggs at the base of hidden fruits, basically peaches, nectarines, apricots, that kind of stuff. And the larva will come out and burrow underneath the bark, and you see these big sap bubbles coming out, kind of big old collective bubbles. Sometimes we'll use it for that. That's when there's so many kinds of bugs. Literally, there's hundreds and hundreds, and every year one is worse than others. That's when I can't explain them all, but I get you pretty close with the most dangerous, the things we see the most of. And the most are the tree borers in pine trees or Arizona cypress. If the tips are flagged, called flagging, very tips of the branches are dying. That's called flagging. And that's a borer coming in from this way and working its way back to the trunk. The way that ponderosa pine or Ips beetle works is it starts right at the trunk and then goes up from there. So they have opposite ways of working it. This tree shrub drench works great for that. Aphids are probably the number one problem we have out of all gardens. Aphids are a tiny, cute little green. It can actually be different sizes. There's two types of aphids. One's the cute green ones on the roses. You kind of get on yuccas. You get a lot of stuff. And then there's a huge, monstrous black one that gets on pine trees, on trees. The tree aphid. They like apples. They like aspens. So, and you don't really know they're there, except you're at the top of the tree where all the new growth is. But you can tell it's an aphid by, we call it honeydew. It's actually aphid poo. And so you get this glossy, shiny area underneath the tree. Those are aphids. There's only one thing that does that, aphids. Sometimes it'll spit in these spots on your truck or your car. You'll see on the windshields, that's aphids. So that's going to be up in the tree. You spray that, any kind of spray will take out an aphid. If I were doing it, it was pretty tall. I would probably spray aphids with cyanide, just because this sprayer will get me at least 20 feet up in the air. Or I would do a drench. So I've got ponderosa. I've got a ponderosa in my office. It's a brand new truck. You know how much new trucks are? It's stupid how much money trucks are. But I'm going to park this thing underneath the ponderosa, and then the aphids are now spitting on my new truck. That's not going to happen. And so, but it's too tall to really spray. There, I did use the tree shrub drench, like we were just talking about, and it took out the aphids. So there's ways to work it depending on, can I get up there or can I not? I figured if aphids were getting on that, I could treat it for the borers and take care of the aphids at the same time, and probably do it just once to be done. The negative with your drenches They travel slowly. So they travel about a foot a day. So if it's a 20-foot tree, it could take a couple of weeks before it actually gets up there and affects the top of that tree. Sometimes we do both. We'll spray it and we'll drench it for the long term. So just so we get it knocked out, especially with spider mites and some of these kind of things. Okay. Yes.
Can you use that drench on rose bushes?
Yeah, drench on roses. Just cover roses real quick. That's great. Yes, you can use it on roses. It is rated for roses. There's an easier way to do roses. I'm a flower gardener. I like flowers. I do vegetables and other stuff, but my mojo in the morning is coffee. Just like deadheading. I just love deadheading. It's a sickness. They probably have medication for it, but I like it. So I grow flowers. And roses are kind of my core. And I go to others. So roses are here. Roses get aphids and they get thrip. Those two are the main things. And the insects love the taste of the flowers, mainly, or the tender new growth. Or sometimes you'll see aphids covering the very new bud at the top. Any spray will take that out. I would start with triple action, obliterate. That's good. But what happens is thrip get inside the flowers early spring. So that first set of buds in March and April, there's a wave of thrip, or also called no-see-ums. Sometimes they'll bite you, you can't see them. They go by a couple names. So thrip, T-H-R-I-P. Tiny bug, they go inside the flower and eat the flower from the inside out. So the symptoms will be the flowers won't open. The flowers will open, but they'll get a blackened, the petals will be black at the tips. The buds can sometimes look like someone took a big lighter to them. Those are all indications thrip are inside the flower, eating the flower from the inside out. Once they're inside the flower, it's very difficult to take care of because they're protected by all those petals. So once it's open, it's easier. So frequently, if you don't put rose food with systemic, this is your go-to. This is a fertilizer with a systemic, that drench stuff, they just put in the fertilizer. So you're fertilizing the plant and you're adding some bug repellent inside the structure of the rose. This is the only way I found to have that first flush of flowers, roses specifically, without damage. So I know they're coming, so I just put this on when I fertilize in March, I use this on my roses. It's not organic, it kind of bothers me, but I only use it on my roses. If you want roses that are nice, I just do this. So, this is not, I would not feed it to my pets. I wouldn't feed anything. None of the stuff we're doing, I would take common sense. What I do is I'm one of those crazy neighbors that goes out when it's raining and puts my fertilizer down. Just because it just goes real quick. It gets in the rock and stuff and disappears. And then the animals can go out. We have a lot of dogs. They're small dogs. We're bird gardeners. We love birds. Thinking about my birds. So this is why I'll just try to get in the ground or water it in right away. Just take a hose, put it in, spray it on you'll activate it just like that. You do need water to activate this within 30 days to be effective. So, but this is your rose solution, especially that first flush for thrip. Thrip and aphids, they only like the spring. They only like when it's cool. They don't like the heat. They show up real early, and they'll show up real late. So you have tree aphids that will show up as soon as we get down to the 50s, 60s in the evenings. All of a sudden you go, oh, aphids are coming. Okay. We'll see the customers coming in. The gardeners are, what is this? It's aphids and thrip. They always show up at those times. Okay. Watch your, they get on yuccas, that new stem, that flower. They love the taste of yucca flowers. So you kind of want to watch that. It won't kill the plant. It just makes them stop blooming. Stresses them out. So aphids and thrip never killed anything. They just stressed them out so they looked good. So that's not good. All right. Go motorcycle club. All those doctors and attorneys up in Phoenix today, driving through Skull Valley. Love it in their heavy leathers. I'm such a man. Okay, snail and slugs. Let's do that. That's my nemesis. So here's a couple. This is slug damage. See the hole disappearing? So we solved it. So the new growth is coming out clean. Took us a couple days to figure it out, and then we baited it. So you will see that in your gardens too. Just pieces of leaves disappearing. What is that? And you never see the insect. It's a snail or slug underneath the foliage. They hide out during the day because if they're out in the sun, they'll vaporize. But they'll come out in the evening. They kind of leave these slimy trails around. Or when it's raining, like a couple days ago, it was raining. They just came out and just took joy. Oh, you're all out there. But the easiest way to do that is we'll make a bait. It's called come and get it. Proven snail and slug killer. Anyway, just that's the stuff. The reason we carry this one over other slug bait, most slug and snail bait is very dangerous stuff, especially if you have pets like dogs and cats or birds. This one is far safer. So we don't sell the nasty chemical one. We go with this one. It's just as effective. So why not be safe? It costs $1 more. Well, why not be safe and have it organic out in the yard? So this is a bait. They'll come out, they'll pick it up, and go, oh, tasty, yummy. And then it'll be the last meal they'll get. At least it was a good one. But this is one. They love to hang out in my yarrow. Stay there. Stay. Yarrow, for some reason, my snails is what I have. Love to hang underneath the foliage. They'll come out at night. So kind of watch your yarrows, all colors. You can have snails and slugs. And then the most famous, they really like hosta. So kind of watch those because these are typically grown in the shade gardens. And so that's where they like to hang out. We have actually seen banana snail slugs. Slugs and snails are the same thing, shelled or not shelled. They're the same. They come out, eat the foliage, and create ugly plants. They never kill anything. They just create ugly plants. So baits are the way to go with that. Okay, stay there. This one I do. Again, we've got pets. I'll try to get it in the foliage or underneath the plant. That's where they're hanging out anyway. I try not to be out where puppies, especially, they're like dumb as mud. They'll eat everything. So you just want to use common sense with this, any kind of bait. But I'll try to get it inside the foliage where they come out and grab it. I like how they fix it right out. I just go down the line. I brought this one, Florel, just because it doesn't pertain to today, but it's such an unusual product. This is the only spray or liquid that will kill mistletoe. If you've got mistletoe in your trees, it's a parasite. It's actually in the structure. It's rooted into that tree, typically junipers, oaks. If you really what you try to do is cut it out. It's on the tips. You can do that. The roots go about 18 inches on both sides. Wherever that mistletoe is, it'll go 18 inches. If you can cut out 18 inches back, you can cut out and throw it away. But sometimes the mistletoe is in the trunk. It's in the main crotch. I mean, it's where you just can't cut your way out of it. This is what you spray it with, Florel. So it actually doesn't kill it. Use Roundup or some sort of herbicide on mistletoe. It will kill the host plant and it will kill the mistletoe. It kills everything. You can't use that. This is actually a growth regulator. It sprays it so it kind of stunts it and doesn't kill it, but doesn't allow it to grow. So you'll see it die back. You think you got ahead of it, and a year later, the roots start to wake up and start to come back. You're probably spraying this every year. If it's a mistletoe clump that's right there at the core of your big old juniper that you have, you probably are going to spray this every year. But it's the only product on the market. I keep looking. This is the only one that's just actually list mistletoe. Okay, so that's the reason I brought it. Anyone have mistletoe? Oh, yeah. It was for 2 students out of all of you. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, we've got Rose's ants. Let's cover ants. We've got the red ants are mobile right now, and they're dividing, so they're starting to fly, or they will be shortly. And so the red ant hills are probably the easiest, big fire ants. You know it because they've cleared out everything. There's nothing but that ant hill. That one is, come and get it. It's a bait. You put it around the hill. They'll pick it up. Oh, look, free meal. They'll actually take it, physically give it to the queen. And once she takes it, the whole colony will die within days. And so it's pretty easy. They're so easy because they pick it up and give it right to the queen. I have had great luck with this, even on farm settings. This is what we use because it's all organic, it's safer. I have found I have to reapply, depending on the hill. I sometimes have to reapply it one extra time, like in a week later. I'm like, what the heck? I thought you guys were dead. And they'll see a few. I think what it is, the eggs hatch later, and now we're seeing the adults were killed off in the nest, but then the ants hatch, and then they're coming out. And I just don't want you ever to come back again. So if you bite my dog, my kids, grandkids, I'm coming after you. So this will kind of take it out. It only works on red ants. All the other ants, it doesn't work. So you got to go. This is, again, it's biological, very specific to that type of ant. Unfortunately, I wish it was broader, but for now it's not. So what do? Let's go to the tiny ants. This is my favorite for little tiny black ants that get inside the kitchen, like they're in the pantry. This one is super effective. I put this on. It has a little target. You kind of drip it on some liquid. It's boric acid in a little soup they really like. They take it, eat it, and die. So it's that. I'll spray it. I'll actually drip it around the yard and on the top of the rocks, by the entrance, wherever they think they're coming in. I'll try to kind of generous with it. But that takes out the tiny, tiny, tiny ants.
The red ones too?
Not effective against the red ones. Only the tiny ones. So again, the tiny ones, they can't lift. They can't pick this up, take it back, but they can this. So they're working in different ways. So that's just my nemesis are the big red ants on the farm, and then this in my kitchen. That's how I solve it. I actually dripped this on my business card. Just leave it right there. Go here. Name's Ken. Have at it. So some kind of piece of cardboard because it's kind of a syrupy. It's like syrup, basically. And then, if you're in doubt, for big properties, I know we got some that are real small properties. We got some that are on acres. This is for you acre people. Grasshoppers are out right now. Ants are out. Kind of everything is out. If you've got big properties, sometimes the ground is actually moving towards you. It's kind of freaky sometimes. This is your go-to. Turf Ranger is a spread. You put it in a hand spreader. You spread it like fertilizer. And it gets watered in, and it just wipes out ants. If it crawls on the field in that back orchard or that back wherever it is, the back lot, this is your go-to for big properties. Great way to keep grasshoppers effectively down. So anyway, enough said. Yeah. Kind of a more complicated product just because you're spreading it more. Where else? Let's do codling moth on apples and pears. The apple and pear folks? Okay, I got one, two, and some folks online. So there's a worm that gets in apples and pears. So the worm that gets in apples and pears, that's a codling moth, period. That's it. So it's a tiny little moth that lays her eggs on the tree, on the blossom or on the fruit, and then it hatches and the worm goes inside. Once it's inside the fruit, you can't get it. It's too late. You got to catch it early, and then once it gets matured, it wants to go lay more eggs. Wants to find someone, dig their way out, fly around, lay more eggs. So we have about 3 generations of codling moths because our season is so long. So the best time to spray it. So here you're using, again, it's a worm, so a caterpillar. So BT is the organic solution. Remember, we started out with that. This is the concentrated for a tree. Same stuff. You spray this, they come out, eat it, it kills it. If you want clean apples or pears, it only gets on those 2 fruit trees. This is how you do it. Now, if you could put this on there while they're laying their eggs, it's all about timing. Your grandparents, they just simply mark the calendar and they spray everything every 2 weeks, usually with DDT. But basically, they just put on a calendar rhythm. Anymore, what we're doing, we're adding a codling moth trap. Oh, that's actually a good picture. That's what codling moth looks like. You take that, pass it around. So just know what it looks like. It's a little tent thing you hang up in the tree. It's got a pheromone. They're attracted to it. They're like, ooh, the party's in there. And so they'll be attracted to it. Like nothing will happen for 2 weeks. All of a sudden you walk out, you check in your codling moth trap. There's a couple moths in there. That's interesting. Then you go back like 2 nights later, the entire thing is filled. Oh, it's time to spray. Poof. It's a timing thing. Now what the internet says, stupid Google thing, you can never believe anything. They go, just hang up a codling moth and it will solve all your problems. There's so many of them, there's no way a trap can gather all of them. You've got to spray it. Literally, if you look at sunset, the tree will look like it's moving. There's so many of them. And so they're laying their eggs on the fruits. So if you can spray it with this BT, right as they're laying their eggs, you'll have clean, beautiful apples. You can enter in the fair, bite into it, not have to worry about worm heads going, all that stuff you do. So worms, don't let them take over your fruits. Yeah.
Would neem oil not take care of them as well?
Neem oil can work on that too. I find that the BT works better for wormy, caterpillar-y kind of things. If you catch them, this would be highly effective on the actual moth piece. Or after the moth and the caterpillar stage, both. They work differently. So the BT is probably, just do what I said. Spray it with this. It's going to be better for you, especially if you got apples. You want bushels. You want to be able to have leathers and sauces, all that stuff without worms.
Grasshoppers and potted roses, is that the same thing?
So the grasshoppers, I would say, that's probably the easiest. You could spray it too. Grasshoppers, or if you can catch them. The sayonara is highly effective on grasshoppers. You spray them, they'll quiver to death. So the problem is there's more. They keep coming at you because now you got a bug-free zone, and all the other bugs are going. But this is a bug. I'm competing over here. There's no competition. They start got to always be after and keep on. So kind of interesting. Something that you did trivia, insect trivia, entomology trivia. Blister beetles and grasshoppers. There's a symbiotic relationship between the two. So grasshoppers lay their eggs in the ground. When there's a lot of them, blister beetles feed off of that. And so 1 year grasshoppers are bad, and typically, not always, but usually, the next year, blister beetles are bad because they're feeding off of each other. So blister beetles are a beetle about maybe an inch long, kind of a long, slender body. They can be striped, they can be spotted, they can be clown-shaped, they can be just like they have costumes on, or just straight black. The reason they call them blister beetles is if you smack them and their innards get on you, it can't leave a blister. If you're into equestrian stuff, you do not want them in your hay because they can kill horses. So they're not dangerous, but just common sense. Don't be whacking them when they're devouring all the foliage on your Arizona ash tree or something. They're very, very easy to kill. That's when any spray, not any spray, the sayonara, this one, or I've always got this one on the shelf. This is one I use. In fact, I got the grandkids coming tomorrow. I'm very excited. So I call them Garden Guy Jr. My grandkids love visiting. So we're flying in from Austin tomorrow. I'm going to pick them up at the airport, drive them home, and I want to make sure the gardens are clean so we can go out and enjoy and not have to worry about flies, mosquitoes, and that kind of stuff. I'm going to spray the entire yard tonight with this just to clear out everything. Because his mother's very earthy, organic-y. So if it's ever been sprayed ever, she'll go, he's not playing out there. Get it before she knows. I'm going to clear everything up. I'm not going to tell her what's going on. We're going to have fun out in the yard. This is how I'm going to keep the insects. So scorpions at the base of your house. I get little black beetles that crawl into the basement. While you're watching TV, they're crawling over your feet. That's unacceptable. That's not going to happen at the wedding house. So I'll use this as a barrier around the edges, permethrin.
And the way I'll do it is I'll actually spray. In fact, I should probably go over this. So I'll put it full strength. Let's just pop this out and show you. This is the greatest tool. You need one of these tools. Greatest tool ever. So, and the reason is your hose goes right here, but you put the product, whatever it is, that's indoor outdoor spray, put it full strength in here. And that when you use that 1 tablespoon to the gallon, it's got a dial right here. See where the little nipple doodadding thing is. It's got a dial, and you just dial it to 1 right there. And now as the water goes out, it automatically mixes everything at the right ratio. Your grandparents used a 7, or you had to be a rocket scientist to figure out how to use them. Anymore, they've done all the work for you. It's just a great little tool that always works. You take the tip off, it'll spray easily 20 feet up in the air, or it's got a fan spray for like roses and that kind of stuff, or grasshoppers. This is a tool that you got to use. I would say the only time I've had trouble with this is when I didn't clean it. I took a shortcut. I just took it off, put it back on the shelf, and then the stuff coagulates down inside the copper. Now I'm in the kitchen sink. Now it's a process. Try to get it to soak, clean it up. Just flush some clean water through it. I've got one that's probably 10 or 15 years old. Still working like it was new. It doesn't look new because it's been used, but it still works really, really well. This is a great product if you're using any kind of concentrate. So concentrated bug killers or fungal stuff. This is a great tool. I highly recommend it. This one sprayer is a better tool than all the others. Because I'm trying to sell you guys stuff that I believe in and that I use and have good luck with. So that's why I brought this. You've also got, I'll get that back later. This is the old-fashioned way of doing it. This kills your fingers. I don't have enough strength to keep. This is for a tiny little project or houseplants. It's not made for out in the yard. This is just an old Windex bottle. Don't just get a good tool. But we have them mainly for houseplant stuff. The other way, I do like this one. So there's one more that probably. Hey, John, go get that sprayer back there. Don't stop behind this. Don't let it bite you. This is what I mainly kill weeds with. Your typical pump sprayer. It's not really as effective for bug killers and stuff. It's just harder to use, and it only makes it yellow. The other thing I can tell you is I used to be big and beefy and strong. I used to bench press 300 pounds. I used to be strong. And so I used to carry around a 3-gallon tank sprayer. Oh my gosh, sluck it around. 1 gallon. 1 gallon is all you typically need. It's so much easier to mix up and haul around and use. It's an easier tool size to use. These great big old backpack kind of stuff. Just School of Hard Knocks. This is a better product. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. This is a great tool. So what this is. It pressurizes, but it just does it like this in small sizes. I just need something real quick. Powdery mildew on my squash or something. Or I'm just going to spot treat some aphid. I have one of these. I'll put it in just a quart size, and I'll go spray it real quick. And it's got a better pattern than this. What I used to use. I do own one of the larger garden centers in the state. Now I can afford one of these. It's way better. It's a way better tool, but it's just better. But anyway, I brought the different kinds of sprayers. They're all down there, and that's how I use them in different ways. All right. We got to cover prickly pear. We have a lot of prickly pear here, and there's a white. You'll see some white. If you're out in the forest hiking around, you'll see this white powder or coating to it. That's an aphid. Underneath all that white, there's an aphid. There's a bug actually eating the tissues on the plant, on the punctia or prickly pear. Don't let it destroy the plant. It won't kill it. It will make it look really ugly. Pads will fade. It makes it look terrible. If you do have prickly pears and you see that, come see us. Anything will kill an aphid. So that's where your triple action works really well. Oils works really well. What I would probably use on that one would be the spinosad soap. because this has a real broad kill rate, and this will penetrate through all that outer coating a little bit better. Sometimes they're protected underneath that white. That's to keep the ladybugs, keep the other insects off of them. It's a defense thing. It can be hard to penetrate through all that to kill the bug. This one seems to be highly effective at the harder to kill things. In fact, if in doubt, this is probably the way it would go. That's when we instruct the staff. If you've never seen it before, we'd like to. If we've never seen it, the whole team will rally around your bug. That is so cool. We've never seen that before because we've seen everything. If we just can't identify it, it's like this. This has got it's organic. It's got a real broad rate. Got really good knockdown with this. Okay. Where else? I think I'm down to it. I'd like to cover some plants that you just don't have issues with. So I really want to cover that. Just real quick, not all of them. I just with personal experience. Hi, my name's Ken. We're just like neighbors talking over the fence. This worked for me. I think it'll probably work for you too. So yeah. Oh, gnats! I should have known that would come up. That's typically a winter thing. So we get this it's called fungus gnat, and they love your iPad. They love like the TV screen. They're attracted to light, and so they're a nuisance when they're inside the house. They actually live in your houseplant's roots. That's where they're at. Typically, they're outside right now because it's free range out. There's lots to do out there. It's bright. But as we get colder, they start coming indoors and they're just attracted to we're staying warm. And so if you have that, I wish I brought it. It's inside the store. It's called systemic spray. That's the storms are coming. It's called systemic granules. You sprinkle it on the soil where the houseplants are. I'd probably treat all the houseplants in that room. They're kind of congregated. And water it in, and as it goes through, it'll take out the grub. It's actually a maggot. It's a fly. So it's a little white worm is living inside the root zone, and they're eating the roots on your houseplants. That's what they're living. And so they just happen to come out for a couple days to bug you while you're reading the newspaper in your iPad, and then they die. That's the way you get past that. So they're called fungus gnats, systemic granules in your solution. It can stink a little bit, so if it's real bad, you might take it outdoors, or spray it in the garage, or sprinkle it out there and bring it back in. But highly, highly effective at fungus gnats. Thanks for bringing that up. See, we could go on and on. There are so many kinds of bugs, it's ridiculous. Come and see us. Take a picture, bring a sample. Let's start with one of my favorites starting to bloom right now. This is called false spirea Coreopterus is the name. This is a plant. It's up maybe hip high or so, ball shaped. No real problems. You don't really trim it. It just does its thing every year. It blooms like this. Bees and pollinators, they love it. So just a nice, tidy, full sun. Animals don't seem to bother. It's just a good plant. Coreopterus. I think it's a better solution than Russian sage. We sell more Russian sage, but Russian sage has a kind of a short life. Then it gets mangy, it's kind of weedy looking. This one stays tight, full, without any care, much longer. It never has this weedy, I'm going to seed all over the yard phase. It just keeps it bound. Just does its thing. Coreopterus. Never had a bug on it, never had a problem. Grasses. This is switchgrass. Grasses are surprisingly hardy. Of course, we're in the prairies. They're just naturally, you're seeing from Prescott Valley all the way up to Walden. Grasses, different kinds of grasses, so they naturally do well. I use a lot of grasses because they add a lot of motion. They just add drama. It's an easy design element to add out there. And I don't get bugs. And so you just I'll just take my lawnmower or weed whacker, hedger, and usually at the end of the year, or usually January, February, I'll keep this up until the snows of January kind of beat it up, kind of starts to lay down. It doesn't look as formal, doesn't look as good. Then I go, okay, it's time for you to go. And I whack it off. Fertilize it, comes back fresh every year. That's the beauty. Sometimes this can get grubs. That's the only bug I've seen. There's a white worm that lives in the soil. and they eat the roots on the plants. Some varieties, generally they're going to like your fruit trees and things better, but sometimes I've seen some grubs on this, but never aphids and that kind of stuff. So it's pretty low care kind of plant. All the grasses. So I think that one's made perennial of the year like 4 or 5 years ago. This is St. John's wort. Kind of an unusual plant. Wish more people planted it because it likes it so well here. But the reason we don't sell so many of them is it just starts blooming now through fall. If it bloomed in the spring, there'd be hundreds of them in every neighborhood. It's so full of sun, bright, blistering hot, surrounded with rock, and it doesn't get bugs. There's no pests. I've ever seen it. No aphids. No, probably because it's only out in the sun. In the summer sun, this is when it really shines. It likes the heat. So you folks up on the ridge lines with that sun and wind, and beautiful vistas. You can hardly go outside because wind is taking it. This guy's going to love that. They thrive in a container. It's pretty because it stays short. Isn't that pretty the way those?
Is that shrubby or?
It's a yes. Is it shrubby or perennially?
Well, it's more like brown.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't spread so much like that. So ground covers, I always think of they're always spreading across the yard. Shrubs, they stay put. This stays put.
It's more shrubby. Washington State is all over everywhere.
Yep. Well, you're not in Kansas anymore, Choco. She was saying in Washington this is a weed. Well, sometimes we like weeds here because it can take our stuff. Here, the dryness tends to keep it in check. It doesn't spread. Same with barberry. The barberry in the Midwest is very weedy. It's invasive. But here, it's not because the soil is so alkaline and the dryness of the air keeps it in check. Yeah. So I do like it. Surprisingly, hydrangeas. Now, there's only a certain place you can put these. They like the shade. They do not like the sun. So you're not in the Midwest where they line the driveways with them. Here, it's got to be protected. But if you get it in the right spot, I never had problems with this, with bugs. So I bring it to you. I love these on my back patio. We got a big 2-story house. The north side's where we entertain. It's beautiful in the summer, but it's kind of shady. It's really shady. So we have some of these that kind of those shade-loving plants out there that just make it feel more like a living room. It just screams, welcome, glad you're here. Let's have a burger. Right? Have some tea. Have another beer. I've never had any problems with this. I've had some deer. I've had a deer eat one down once, but that's very unusual. This is called Gara, G-A-U-R-A, Gara. It's like a butterfly magnet. Hummingbirds like it too. But it gets up about this tall. The foliage will stay nice and tight. Then these flowers always hover like butterflies above the main foliage. I've never had bugs on this. Full sun. It's a bulletproof plant. Kind of a great little perennial plant. Comes back year after year after year. And just personal experience. You folks from Phoenix, your lantana. Lantana does well here too, though. Mainly, this is an annual. It's not going to winter over with us. It's too cold. Here, it would winter over down in Phoenix. Up here, it won't. We do have 2 varieties down there that are perennial. They'll come back year after year. They're more of the orangey colors. I grabbed this one just because, well, it's right there. It's easier, but lantana, pretty bulletproof as far as insects and bugs. They just don't really have issues. And they just consistently do this all summer till October. So then kind of I'm done. It's cold. It's below 40 degrees. I'm out. So that's when they kind of stop blowing. This is another annual. It's called passion vine or mandevilla. Goes by both names. I grow a lot of these, different colors. There's white, pink, reds. Never had any kind of bug get on this. So it is an annual. You could bring it real easily indoors and use it as a house plant, collaboratively, very successfully. But it's a great little plant. Yeah. On this plant, I take that back. She's got something eating on hers. So just my yard. So obviously they're at her yard. I want to make sure we keep them over there. I don't want them over here. So that's one, I'll bet it's a snail or slug. I bet it's something like that. Okay. It wouldn't be a moth. No, that's one we can analyze offline here, but we can help you with that. Probably, really. You know what I would do? If in doubt, this is your one thing you use. It solves all your problems. Spinoza soap. If you don't know what it is, that's going to keep the damage from happening, from expanding and becoming more of a problem. Okay. What else? Rudbeckia. What you'll find is the flower, the perennial, this is a perennial, in fact, every year. So June is like perennial. Notice all the perennials come in and they're all in bloom. But as we progress through summer, the perennials get bigger, bigger, bigger. The flower sizes get bigger. I mean, this is when you see the Mexican hats, the echinaceas, and the rudbeckias. The flowers just become almost like a sunflower. There you go. Aren't you glad you didn't go to the reefer now? See that?
What's that called?
This is called rudbeckia. It's called Summer Glow. Summer, meaning you can look at it later, take a picture. There's some down there. So they actually crossed. What they do? Echinacea and rudbeckia, and they came up with this whatever the name is. It's like a crossover. So it's a hybrid, but it's perennial. Comes back year after year. So many flowers. Get more flowers and foliage. And then I think I'm out. I think I got it. We're doing the time. We'll do one more. We'll do two. Oh, I broke it. My staff hates it when I pick up plants. There we go. This is called agastache. Agastache, I think, is a better plant than Russian sage. You sell more Russian sage. It comes in one color, purple. This comes in like 6 colors. It gets up about this tall, maybe just a click down from Russian sage, but it's not weedy. It doesn't get rangy. It lives longer. It does happen to die back to the ground every year. They come back fresh, whereas Russian sage tends to have some of it come back from the wood. It kind of gets beat up in winter, and you trim it back, then fertilizer comes back. And this has the same bloom cycles and times as Russian sage, but I find it just as a cleaner, neater, tidier. And I find the hummingbirds like it better than Russian sage. Anyway, I like Russian sage. I put my kids through college on that one plant. But I think I think we overdo it sometimes, and we're afraid because we're gardeners. I can't kill it. It's alive. Yeah, but it's ugly. It's in front of your $1 million house. Get rid of the dog and put something nice in. So it's like we can remodel these plants as they fade. That's one that we don't remodel enough. Same with pampas grass. It dies out in the middle. It's got about a 10-year cycle. Then it gets ugly. There's no recovery. You just have to dig it up and reset it and do it again. I think it's okay when a plant starts to have it's looking off. It's okay to kill it. Dig it up, throw it away, put a fresh one in. So anyway, this is one of those that I like better. I plant this one myself, not Russian sage. I have a stash. And then I'll leave you this last one, only because it's a funky new Shasta daisy. Shasta daisy, this is a good luck with, doesn't get bugs, but Shasta daisies usually have a single flower. It's got petals that go like this. This is a double. It's got more of a ruffled pom-pom. It almost looks like a mum instead of a Shasta daisy. Same foliage though as daisies, but it just does this. You're only going to find it at Waters Garden Center. Yeah. So, thanks for doing it, guys. Before you leave, I forgot to hand this out. I have 2 handouts for you. If you want it, put your email down, and I'll send it to you. One is basically all the bugs we find here. I wrote an article 2 years ago. It gets rave reviews on our website. I'm just going to give you a copy of that. Here's aphids, here's blister beetles, here's grasshoppers, here's just a list. And the damage that you might see in your yard. I took pictures for years. Here's how it looks, blossom on your squash. There's one other. I've got 2 of them for you. But there are 2 really good that pertain to this. If that's of interest, I'll email that to you later today. And it'll be in probably HTML format, so you can read it on the phone, iPad, wherever you are, whatever device, you can read it. Okay, so sorry to get that out to you earlier. Questions? I'll stall while that thing goes around. We cover the bugs. You all are freakish, you know that, right? You're here for a bug class. That's weird. Yeah.
Same idea with a ground cover that you, what would you recommend that works here?
So a ground cover, we've got a whole list of them. So the way we break out the sunny shrubs at least, because people are buying those by height. So the first bed is, and you'll see the sign says knee high and below, so up to knee high. Those are your people. That first full bed, a whole bunch of them. I'll give you a couple examples. Then it goes hip high, then head high. Practice the screen space. That's a red tip Photinia, euonymus, silverberry, the big boys. Is that okay? For you, the two most popular ground covers, especially if you're going to put them on a drip system with your other trees and shrubs and stuff. A Cotoneaster, there's a low-growing one that just gets this tall and spreads, and ground-covered junipers. I know junipers don't get we need to plant more of those because they're just native here. They just grow wild. Junipers and their companions with each other. So they look really good. If I'm designing, I'll put a block over here and a block over here, and I'll just have them commingle together because they look good together. Those are two I would look at specifically, just for ground covers. Was there another question over here? Yeah.
I can't get it, but I do.
What is he doing?
I don't think so.
I stay away.
I do my phone.
So her
And it's
hostas aren't blooming. Why? And how do I force them to go? What I would do for mine, so I'm a flower guy. I love flowers. It's my thing. What I will do is I would sprinkle some super phosphate. This is 0,18,0. It's all phosphorus. That middle number, 0,18,0. That middle number, phosphorus, that's what produces flowers. And so I do this. I treat this kind of like my plants. I think of them like people. And if I wanted a Snickers bar, I just want something light, quick, just juice me up. This is the Snickers bar for plants, for bloomers. I'll just sprinkle it out there, especially during the rainy season. I just put my autumn sage, I just give a little dose. Hydrangeas, give a little more dose. It just kind of supplements. It's not enough fertilizer by itself to really produce, to make a healthy plant. But for a stubborn hosta, put some of this with your flower power. I would do both. Just do both. Yeah. This is kind of your supplement kind of stuff. Superphosphate for things that bloom makes more flowers and bigger flowers. So I give it to my tomatoes, anything that fruits and blooms, makes them bigger, produces more. This is that middle number is what causes all the fruits and blooms. Can you overdo it? It's hard to overdo. What happened? No, you can't. I would say vegetable fertilizer. That's good. That you can burn with. It's organic. It's hard to do, but this is the middle number doesn't burn. The first number, nitrogen, that's what causes burning. So I'd say 0,18. It's got no nitrogen. And if you plant it directly in it, yeah, there's some chemical stuff that happens. So it changes the pH some, lowers the pH some. Could you really grossly overdo it? Maybe hard. So yeah. Diatomaceous. I brought it hoping that one of you organic people wouldn't mention it, but I brought it just in case. Diatomaceous earth gets all the play. So put it the right way. Diatomaceous earth. This is a food grade agricultural. What this is crushed up fossilized shells. As bugs crawl across it, it rips open their body. It causes them to dehydrate. So they're actually dehydrating out. That's what they're doing. I don't care for it myself, just because it's so messy. It's just powdery, like you're wearing it. And every time you touch it, it's everywhere. That's the reason I don't. It's completely organic. You do need to sprinkle it under the base and think like, where are the bugs going to crawl? So earwigs, the snails and slugs. I think it gets too much credit. It doesn't take out grubs, like they say. If you read all the organic magazines, oh, grubs. Yeah, maybe if they leap out of the ground and crawl across the ground and go back in, which grubs don't do that, it would be effective. But snail and slugs, the pill bugs, quite effective. Little tiny roly-poly things, quite effective. So there's a place for it, especially in the vegetable garden. A lot of folks could dust with it for aphids. I haven't found that to be so messy. There's easier products. So anyway, that's my take on it. But diatomaceous earth, we have it here at Water Skirts. If you're into that, you got it. And we went with a food grade. Because you also fill up your pool filter for this stuff. You don't want that grade. You don't want filtering type of detonation. You want an agricultural grade for gardens. You're truly going to keep it organic. What else? We got it. Wow, that wasn't so bad. This is kind of a technical one. It said, boss, we're not teaching this one. You got to do it. Okay. I like killing bugs. Yeah, it's right there.
Can you use the drench this time of year? Spring.
Can you use a drench?
The drench on the pinyon pines.
So I recommend using it in spring, just as the new growth is coming out, so we can protect it. The reason I chose this one over other drenches is every store has a drench. This one will actually keep up with the new growth. The other types, the first gen, stuck with the last year's wood, basically. It tainted that, but all the new growth was not protected. This actually is keeping up with the new growth. It's a better product. It costs a couple dollars more, but it has way more protection. I recommend doing it in the spring, or if you have not done it, just do it. If you've not protected your pine trees yet, you missed the spring, get it on now. And then reapply like March, April, somewhere in there. So we sell most of this, literally cases, pallets of it in the spring because we have so many pine trees. People know if they've had a neighbor that their trees died, you're alarmed. You should be, because it's coming your way if you don't do something. So I think with the native, we get to in the pinyon pines. That's the more rounded one. Ponderosa is a real tall, straight one. Pinyon pines are more the bushier, maybe 30-foot tall by 20-foot wide. That one gets a scale on it. There's a bug that actually attaches itself to the needles, and they're actually sucking the juice out of the needle underneath the scale, underneath this protection, this armor. And they're very difficult to kill. This is highly effective because you're taking the sap that they're trying to suck out. It's highly effective. And the way you can look at it, if you've got a pine tree, you go out and look at it, it looks like someone took a number 2 pencil and like put a little tiny dot or a Sharpie, they just put a little dot on there. That is serious. That's the scale. And so you'll want to treat that. And I think fertilizing your natives, I think fertilizing one time a year, you can overdo it with natives. But if it's been there for a while, you treat it with care and nurse it along, it'll outlive all of us if we nurse it. If you don't protect them, you just took their environment, you put your house and driveway, you put streets, you just changed all their microclimate, everything has changed. They are freaking out and stressed. When plants become stressed, they're prone to bugs. They're screaming, going, come and I'm stressed out, come eat me. And so if you can treat them with this, fertilize them in the fall, I think show them with this in the spring. That's what I do for my natives, and they're glorious, absolutely glorious. So fertilize with the all-purpose food in the fall, put this on the spring, and you'll have beautiful, healthy plants, natives. Okay. Yeah.
I got scale on my pinions. And I did get rid of it.
How'd you get rid of it? You spray it?
I did, but I use neem oil and various things, but I also make my tool sticks.
There you go.
I do a garlic chili oil.
Yeah.
So
I love you organic gardeners. You're so great.
And so I kept after it because I had it bad. And cleaned it up.
So when I had a radio show 20 years ago, I still do a radio show podcast, Top 10 Gardener, the Not Gardener, they're out there. Please like and subscribe or follow. It helps my metrics. But I used to try to go kitchen recipes. And then there was always a wave of customers coming in afterwards going, I burned everything up. They got too much nonsense. So, or they got the wrong kind of soap. It's lemon flavored. Now I just go over the counter. This is what we do because I don't have the mistakes. I want science to prove it out. And so for my pinyon pie, she was mixing up garlics, peppers, and stuff in her kitchen. Solved her problem. I would have just used this and called it all good, and I'm set for a year. So and I know what I'm getting that way. So, great. That's super.
I use that for lots. That's my
Well done. Yeah.
layer of squash and stuff like that too.
For me, I always have triple action on the shelf. I always start with this. It's the safest thing out there. It's easy, especially for my vegetables and herbs. I want to go pick blackberries this weekend with the grandkids. If I got bugs, I can do that with this. I can't with some of the others.
I use that.
I will use this. I always have this on the shelf, ready to go, because when blister beetles show up, they show up in a swarm by thousands, and they will strip the yard within an afternoon, fly away, and you're left foliage without any foliage. You don't have time when they hit to go drive across town, come to the garden center, try to analyze what it is, go back and spray it. The damage is done. I want something that's there right now.
So
And then whenever I'm entertaining, so this weekend we got the kids are coming. This is my mosquito and fly thing. Just a few mosquitoes and flies ruins a backyard party. All the gals are going indoors. Doesn't matter if the burgers are ready. We're out of here. This is what I will spray before the party, just to make sure all the mosquitoes, because they're hanging out underneath all the shrubbery in the darker areas. This just kind of my go-to. So those are my two things I always have on the shelf. So everything else I'll.
the drench will take care of scale. Because I do worry that it'll come back. I keep watching for it because I know
It will come back. Yeah. So scale on pinyon pines have wiped out entire neighborhoods. The plant will actually succumb to it unless you really keep on it. This is probably something, if you've got ponderosas or pinyon pine, if you have native pine trees, you're probably doing this every single year to protect them. And then I would fertilize with the all-purpose food. I would use this 744. It's not 1010 is a chemical. We're not a chemical place. We're an organic place. So this is more effective for evergreens. It loves the. We put sulfur in this, so it lowers the pH, makes it more acidic, because we know who our customers are, where their gardens are. And then cottonseed is a main ingredient. Cottonseed's also very acidic, so it lowers that pH, so it brings out the color. So that's what I would use every fall for my native plants. Protect them, and they'll outlive us all. With that, I will hang out as long as you want. But you come see the plants, whatever. I'll just be here as long as you want, and then look for an email real quick. Probably after I get through the crew gets through lunches, I'll send an email, be from my personal email to you. You'll now have my email, so you can reach out. Sometimes I get back to you in a day. Sometimes it takes longer, but you'll have it. And then, but before you go, just it makes me feel good. I'll let you go. Appreciate it. All right.
Quick question.
Yeah.